Here we go.
So much to talk about. Howie Klein. Howie Klein is the founder, treasurer of the Blue America PAC. They raise money for progressive candidates all over America. And let's first talk about the Chinese weather balloon. What is going on? Are the Chinese spying on our weather? Don't they have their own weather to spy on?
They have maybe they heard what was his name, that football player from Georgia talking about the Chinese air coming over here, and they wanted to check it out.
Herschel
their air was doing. Yes.
Right. I'm showing the photo you have over down with Tyranny. The Pentagon just released a photo.
The actual balloon.
The actual balloon. And it looks a little like...
Remember, when you look at that balloon, what you don't see is that it would fit 4 buses. I mean, that's a big balloon.
Right. I think Donald Trump could probably fit twice as many buses in his gut. They are looking for any reason to go to war with China, the Republicans. It seems like a harmless balloon. Just seems like something that strayed off course. We'll get back to that in a second. There are a couple of...
I don't know if it's strayed off course, because China has been sending, spy balloons over the United States for years and years and years. And the U.S. spies on China. I mean, it's just, everyone is spying on everybody. What can you say?
It is the most frightening.
Funniest thing about it was all these right-wingers who wanted to, shoot at it with their AR-15s.
Right. And not caring where it lands.
No. I sort of every now and then would see Marjorie Taylor Greene carrying on and screaming about one thing or another. And then when someone finally told her, in a way that she heard, that there were several Chinese balloons that came over the United States when Trump was president, so she took it into a new tangent, which is since she calls him all the time and talks to him, and he said he was never told about it. So now she's screaming, basically like the deep state kept it from Trump, that there were Chinese balloons over the United States.
Right.
It's just kind of like a clown show.
They're getting worse and worse. I want to talk to you about a couple of things. Salami and FTX, that story seems to be getting bigger. You've been covering Sam Bankman-Fried since the beginning, and we'll talk about who Salami is and his meetings with Kimberly Gargoyle and Don Jr. But first, I would like to turn to California, because how old is Senator Dianne Feinstein?
I don't know. She was there when Fort Sumter was being bombarded. Old. It's very, 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 very old. And it doesn't matter how old she is. That's the thing I have to keep reminding people. What matters is the shape she's in. And in her case, it's very, very bad. There are people who are older than her who are in perfect shape, both physically and mentally. She's degenerated tremendously. So she is not capable of being a senator. And there she is, being a senator.
And we think she's not going to run for re-election in 2024.
Right, she's not for re-election.
And
she's not running for re-election. It's a funny thing. When you're in office, if you say, okay, you're not running for re-election, so if Biden were to say he's not running for re-election, or if Feinstein says she's not running for re-election, what it means is that you're a lame duck, and people stop paying attention to you. So that I understand why they don't want to say they're not running for re-election, but they're both. I think they're both too old to run for re-election. I mean, in her case, there's no question about it. In his case, someone's going to have to convince him that he can't run.
Biden,
which I think will happen.
You think that might happen?
I think it will happen. Yes.
You honestly think Joe Biden is? You know more than I do, and you're usually right.
No, I don't. I'm going by my gut. I do think that look, the polling is just terrible. And now the most current polling is showing him losing to Trump. No one likes either one of them. Democrats don't think he should run by a very, very wide margin. I mean, he's just he doesn't want to be a lame duck. I understand that, and so he's got to hold off for as long as he possibly can.
The popularity, it's changed, hasn't it? Because in 2012, I believe Obama beat Romney, even though Obama was underwater with his favorability ratings. And in 2016, nobody liked Clinton and nobody liked Trump. And in 2020, nobody liked Trump and nobody liked Biden. It's a different type of presidential race these days. It's a given that we hate all the candidates. So does it matter that nobody likes Biden?
It does, and it does matter. But, we're so used to lesser of two evils elections that it always comes down to that. But that's why I'm worried right now, because polling is excuse me, polling is showing that Trump is losing out to Biden.
Biden is losing out to Trump.
Biden is losing out, yeah.
Biden is losing out to Trump.
Yeah.
But isn't Biden losing out to DeSantis? And do these polls?
I haven't seen too many polls like that. But yes, Biden, I think, would definitely be defeated by DeSantis.
Really?
But I don't know that DeSantis can win this thing over Trump. Who knows? It's all speculation at this point.
Well, a year from now, we will have completed we'll be coming up on the South Carolina primary, which is going to be the first primary in the Democratic Party. Or is New Hampshire going to fight this?
Well, I think that New Hampshire is going to fight it. Everyone will fight everything. We're a fighting country now.
Right.
All we want to do is fight.
Okay, so let's go back to California. Go ahead.
Do you think a lot of listeners have neuropathy?
From the show, they probably do.
But probably a lot of people have neuropathy.
And that is what, dead skin or parts of the body that don't feel anything?
Well, it's a nerve problem. So, people, you can get neuropathy several ways. One of them is from diabetes. Another one is when you get chemo. A lot of people wind up, depending on what kind of chemo, you wind up with neuropathy, and it manifests itself in various ways. But the most common is it makes your extremities, and it's called peripheral neuropathy, and it makes your extremities kind of painful, but useless. And, it's just an awful thing. So my doctor, I have it, and my doctor called me the other day, and she told me about this kind of like a foot vibrating machine, like a heavy duty one. And she said, she's having some success with people, some of her patients with it. So I got one the other day, and I've been using it. And it's amazing. I mean, I've had this neuropathy for like 4 years or 5 years, and I just gave up on it ever getting better. And this thing is working.
That's good.
Yeah. And the reason I brought it up just now is because as we were talking, I had it on, and unfortunately, it's so heavy duty that it knocked over everything, everything on my.
Well, when we were in LA together, we stopped by a CB pot store to pick up some kind of oil that treats neuropathy, and you said to me, it doesn't work unless you believe it works.
Yeah, it didn't work.
It didn't work. You said you have to go with the placebo effect. Well, I'm glad.
Actually, that's what in those days I was getting these very, very, very sharp pains that I was thinking was part of neuropathy, but I don't know that it is really part of neuropathy. And that pot oil that did actually help with that. It alleviates the pain. But what I've since discovered is that if you're lying down and you start getting these pains, which is when I would get them, if you just stand up, the pains go away. So I went from, there were months where I was just like in my bed, like screaming, thinking, oh my God, what are the neighbors going to think? I'm just in the middle of the night and I'm screaming. But now it's kind of like a cramp. a very, very painful, sharp cramp. And now if you just stand up, it goes away. So people should think of that last 3 or 4 minutes as like a kind of an infomercial.
Right. And if you want
to get back to the at hand.
Right. If you want more information, go to Down with Tyranny. And if you're suffering from neuropathy, Howie will turn you on to this machine. And it's also good It's also sounds like a good Valentine's gift for your loved one.
It is. It's amazing because it's so strong that it actually, you just put your feet on it, but it stimulates everything. I mean, it's amazing. Everything. Whole body.
Right. I think they called it the Sybian. Anyway, so let me go to what you wrote about the 3 Democrats who will be running for Dianne Feinstein's seat. You got Adam Schiff, Katie Porter,
yes,
and Congresswoman Lee. And this is what you wrote. I know all 3 candidates personally, and for years, Schiff and Lee in person, Katie Porter via phone and email. I would be happy with any of them in the Senate. All 3 are extraordinary members of the House. You go on to write, Lee is the furthest left. Schiff has moved significantly left since first being elected. Katie Porter has a tendency to vote her moderate district frequently, so much so that for the entire 117th Congress, Schiff's voting record was more progressive than Katie Porter's. And then there's so much here. Lee is the furthest to the left. Schiff has moved significantly left since first being elected. Oh, hang on.
You read that already?
Yeah. On the other hand, this past week, Katie Porter and Lee voted against the Republicans' idiotic We Hate Socialism resolution, and Schiff voted for it. So everything is in those 3 paragraphs. Let's start with Katie Porter voting more conservatively than Mark Schiff.
No, she's not conservative. She's a progressive, so it's a degree of progressiveness. And yes, and a lot of people think, she's a super progressive. Like Ilhan or AOC, but she's not. She's a I call it a moderate progressive.
Like Elizabeth Warren.
Not quite, but almost. I mean, Elizabeth Warren is more progressive than Katie Porter is. Katie Porter's strengths aren't necessarily the voting record. The voting record is good enough. It's not. I don't want people to get the idea. It's like this. Like, imagine that. I'm going to make these numbers up. These aren't real numbers, but I just want to demonstrate something. So Barbara Lee would be a 99, and in last cycle, Adam Schiff would be a 95, and then Katie Porter would be a 93.
Okay.
And those are all like great numbers. Any of those people would have great voting records. That's all I'm saying with that paragraph.
Well, I do.
Now,
I do remember. I do remember.
The thing about Katie.
Go ahead.
The thing about Katie Porter that makes her such a strong candidate is, she has weaknesses also, but her strength is that she is able to go after the, Wall Street and the bankers and big business in a very, very clear way and make it very, very obvious to everybody who's hearing her that what she's talking about and how to approach it. And that's why people love her. So it's not just her voting record. It's what she has done with her time in Congress and the work she's done in her committees. So that's her big plus.
Right. Barbara Lee, we've talked about this. Her big plus is that she was the only one to vote against Afghanistan.
Right, but that the thing that I worry about that is that people think that's all there was. But of course that's not all there was. She like I said, in that first paragraph that you read, she's the most far left of all of them. She's the most progressive of the 3 of them. Now, again, they're all very progressive, but she's the most progressive. Right. And across the board on everything. She's certainly if you're the kind of person that votes on foreign policy, she would be someone who you would want more than Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is still sort of slowly coming along and getting better and better, but she's been that way since she lived in El Paso when she was a young girl, and so she's always been very, very progressive, and she's got she was already great, and she's still great. Whereas Adam, I had a big sort of falling out with him when he voted for one of Bush's wars. And I was like horrified that he did. And, and he's come a long way since then. And, but it's still a work in progress.
Is it?
But I don't think most vote on foreign policy. That would make, some people do, but it's not the main thing that people vote on. The main thing that people vote on, you know what? I mean, that's actually the weirdest thing. Someone, who was I reading? Is either reading somebody or hearing it on the radio or something. Someone was saying so-and-so was really good looking. And that was going to, oh yes, that's right. It was someone talking about DeSantis. So I was ready to vomit anyway. And they were saying how good looking DeSantis is, and therefore suburban women were going to vote for him just because of the way he looks. Mm-hmm. Now, I think repulsive, but I'm not a suburban woman. And, what I was trying to get at, though, is that people vote for a variety of reasons, and it's not always a rational thing. People don't scour someone's voting record to see where they are on issues. People, and when I was saying, Barbara Lee was a 98 and Adam was a 95 and Katie was a 93, there's no one, almost no one who votes is going to make any difference between those three things. They're all identical. So, to most people, and people vote for any reason at all. I mean, I've literally hung around at the polls in my neighborhood to see people talking with people, and they were going to vote for a bunch of judges based on the names, trying to figure out, well, I'm Italian and this guy's Italian, I'm voting. Well, literally, I'm not making a joke. I mean, I literally saw that. Or Jewish, or anything. Or, people vote on, and that's like a big reason that people vote. Identity politics is huge.
Right. Which makes you wonder.
I sent you a picture of the candidate that Blue America has just endorsed, Dom Jones, Dominique, but known as Dom. And she's spectacular looking. She's absolutely beautiful. She could be a model. She could be, good looking actress. She's just great looking. And I believe there will be people who just vote for her for that. There are a lot of reasons to vote for her. And that's a silly one. But, if you just look at her picture, you might think, wow, we need someone who looks like her in Congress.
Well, the dreads alone. Now, she would replace Katie Porter.
Katie.
Correct?
That's right. Katie's running for the Senate. And so this district, which is a blue-leaning purple district, Biden, I think, won that district by 11 points. There's no reason why a Democrat shouldn't win that district. It's a little bit closer with Katie, but it was a bad year for Democrats overall. But, any Democrat is probably going to win that. So we're going to have we have a jungle primary here in California. So there's a very conservative Republican and two very conservative Democrats, and then there's Dom Jones. So the question is, the Republican is going to get one of the slots for the runoff. And then which Democrat? Will it be one of the two very conservative Democrats, or will it be the one progressive woman?
And that would be Dom Jones. She's endorsed by Howie Klein. You can go to Facebook.
By Blue America. By Blue America.
And by Blue America, go to facebook.com/Blue America to learn more, or go to secure.actblue.com, hit the contribute page, and support whomever Howie Klein says you should support. Support Dom Jones. Katie Porter is...
I have a question.
Yeah.
But do you think people might resent when you say that?
No. Because
okay.
I don't... There are two people, you and Ralph Nader. There are only two people I use as my political moral compass, and you're never wrong. You're never wrong.
But I appreciate you saying that. I don't know if it's true or not.
It's true.
But the thing is that when you say support whoever Howie Klein
yes.
tells you to support, sounds so weird. Maybe it would be better for people to, if I recommend somebody, that people then look into it rather than just fork over their money. I mean, I'm happy if they do, but it's just sort of scary sounding.
Yeah, but I grew up and my parents, there was a time when Ralph Nader would send recommendations on who to vote for. And I would hear my mother and father say, well, Ralph Nader says vote for this proposition. Okay. At some point, we're a republic, not a democracy, and we have to trust people to either vote for us properly if they're serving in the House or Senate, or we have to rely on people like you who are looking at these issues on a granular level, and you're vetting the candidates, and my listeners trust you. They know you know your stuff, and your moral compass is true north.
Stop arguing that.
I'm sorry?
I'll stop arguing. And I'll tell you, Dom is, I've been talking with her both on the phone and email, and we're going to soon go out to have dinner, and she's really spectacular. I mean, this is someone who would really make a difference in Congress. She is, and it's hard to make a difference in Congress. It's just like this big glacier, and she'll be working with. When I asked her who her favorite member of Congress was, she had a few people in mind, but she immediately started talking about Cori Bush.
That's my favorite. Nobody's better than Cori Bush. And you also talk about maybe for Congress, California 30. Would that be your district? Is that Schiff's?
Yeah, that's my district. Adam Schiff is the congressman now. He's leaving to run for Senate against Barbara Lee and Katie Porter. So he won't be the congressman from my district anymore. So there are a whole bunch of establishment assemblywoman and a state senator, and and rich people's children, and all sorts of people are running. But one of them is the woman who's been running against Adam Schiff for the last few years, and her name is Maybe a Girl, and she would be the first transgender person if she's to win. In fact, you know what? We should have Maybe come on the show.
Absolutely.
She's extreme. She's a Bernie type person,
right.
And she's extremely progressive and very interesting to talk to. And I suspect that there are probably plenty of your listeners or our listeners who have never had a chance to hear what a transgender politician has to say. So she might be an interesting person to have on.
Anytime you want. Let's do it next week. Absolutely. Maybe for Congress.
Okay, I'll ask her if she can. She's a working woman, so she doesn't, but we'll see if she can make some time.
Okay, and is she officially endorsed by the Blue America PAC?
She's going to be. We still have to get together, all of us to make sure, and so that everybody's, is on the same page. But yes, she will be endorsed. We're already raising money for her.
Okay. Let's talk about FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, and Salami, who Who is Salami? What is his relationship to Sam Bankman-Fried? And why do you have a picture of him with Kimberly Gargoyle and Don Jr.?
So okay. He was co-CEO of with Sam Bankman-Fried, but that doesn't mean that he had equal power with Sam Bankman-Fried. Sam Bankman-Fried ran the whole thing, but so it was a huge empire with lots and lots of different companies, and the one big one, Salami was the co-CEO of, but he didn't. It wasn't like he had equal power. It was like 20-80. I mean, it was, but when it came to FTX was stealing billions of dollars from their depositors, like literally billions of dollars. I mean, something between $8 billion, that's the low end, and $32 billion, that's the high end. But that's a lot of money, whichever it is. And they were stealing that money. And one of the things they were doing with it was buying favors from members of Congress. And no one knows yet how much they gave to incumbent congressmen and and candidates, but it's north of $100 million.
Wow.
And it may be significantly more north of $100 million. And, the real issue, right now, like one of the things that people are talking about is, well, what are these congressmen who got all this money? Where are they donating the money? Are they donating it? Are they sitting on it? Are they refusing to donate? That isn't the question. That will get taken care of by the bankruptcy court. What the real question is, what did they do to get that money?
Promises?
It's not only, yes, there were promises, but there's more than promises. There was also action. Sam Bankman-Fried had an agenda. He wasn't just handing out money to everybody. Certainly, AOC didn't get any money, I can tell you that, and neither did Bernie. So they were, they were honing in on corruption. They wanted people who were obviously corrupt, who would do things for them. And some did things for them. And the main thing that Sam Bankman-Fried and his coterie wanted to make sure of was that there would be no regulation. So, of course, tons and tons of money went to Republicans. And that money went from basically from salami, not 100%, because Bankman-Fried gave money to some Republicans as well. But Bankman-Fried's a Democrat. He's a conservative Democrat like his parents. His mother, Barbara Bankman, or Barbara Fried, I should say, she has a PAC as well, and she founded a PAC called the Mind the Gap, and that was a PAC that just supported conservative Democrats. And Bankman-Fried was, the main thing he wanted was corrupt. That was the most important thing, that they be corrupt. But when there was a choice between a progressive and a conservative, he went heavy on conservative. He never supported a progressive against a conservative. Almost all of his primary donations were for the less progressive and the more conservative in the Democratic, and he was the guy who was writing most of the checks for the Democrats, not all of it, but most of it. And like I said, this gang of his stole billions of dollars from FTX and spent over $100 million bribing politicians, legalistically bribing them. And for some reason, the media, I have a feeling after talking to some members of the media, I have a feeling I know why, but the media is not playing up this part of it. They're not talking about all these members of Congress. We're talking about Pelosi, we're talking about Kevin McCarthy, we're talking about the Republican whip, one of the worst of the lot, Tom Emmer. There's a video, Tom Emmer's on the House Financial Services Committee. That's the committee that should have put regulations in place. Instead, he was taking money, huge sums of money, not just for his own campaign, but at the time he was the head of the NRCC, their version of the DCCC. So he was taking millions and millions of dollars from Bankman-Fried, and there's this incredible video of him all but filleting Bankman-Fried on the committee, talking about how great he is and how fabulous he is. This is the guy that's supposed to be regulating it. There was never ever going to be any regulations, ever.
Right.
And the media doesn't talk about it. And one of the reasons why is because it's a very, very tough subject to write about because it's not clear. It takes hours and hours and hours just to get a little bit of a grip on who got the money and what they spent a lot of time hiding their tracks so you couldn't see it. Sure, there's millions of dollars that came directly from salami to Republicans, from Bankman-Fried to Democrats. So yes, there is that. But there's much, much more than that was laundered from, for example, just as one example, since I mentioned his mother's PAC, they gave his mother's PAC $1 million. What did she do with it? One of the things she did with that, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but she made sure that the people who were part of her PAC put lots and lots of money into this very corrupt Democrat from Chicago named Sean Casten. And what did Sean Casten do, aside from helping to make sure there'd be no regulations? He's also on the House Financial Services Committee. Aside from that, he also hired her son, Sam Bankman-Fried's brother, Gabe Bankman-Fried, and he was ostensibly hired to open mail. That was it. That was his job. He was going to be a letter opener, and if it was important, he would pass it along. If it wasn't important, he would answer the letters himself. That was his job. But what is he? All of a sudden, he's showing up at House Financial Services Committee meetings that are not for staff members, and he's talking about how to deal with cryptocurrency, which is, I mean, sometimes a chief of staff goes to these meetings. Sometimes.
Well, he opened the right envelopes.
They're open or no?
He opened the right envelopes, and didn't the mom? didn't she pay
the mother opened envelopes? That's for sure.
Didn't she pay herself an exorbitant salary from that money?
That's right. She most of the money went. I don't know what her salary was, but most of the money went for internal expenses. Salaries and expenses.
Okay. While all this is going on, we're just going to be 5 more minutes to talk about the debt ceiling and what Matt Gaetz said about Medicaid. And you write over at Down with Tyranny that Mike Pence admitted today that he wants to privatize Social Security. You also write...
yeah, I mean, he wanted... yes, not immediately. They're very, very careful to say, well, no one who's getting it now is going to feel any discomfort or change. I mean, that's always what they say, because then they figure they can appeal to people's greed. Oh, it's not going to hurt me. I don't care. Let them do whatever they want.
Right.
So that's their little game they play.
And you also write that Matt Gaetz has said that we should make people work for Medicaid.
Right. Well, the Republicans feel that they have Biden over a barrel because of this debt ceiling. But the Republicans don't know what to ask for. I mean, what they really want, of course, is to privatize Social Security and Medicare. But their polling showed if they say that, they'll lose 50 seats in the election. So they're kind of trying to take that off the table now. But they want to get something, and they don't know what to get. They don't know what to ask for. They can't find any agreement. And Gaetz is saying, well, this has always worked for us. Let's throw people off Medicaid. So what they're saying is, if someone is able-bodied, they have to work. Well, how about if they're able-bodied and they're taking care of their children because they can't afford to have child care? It's an able-bodied person, and they'll throw them off Medicare. Medicaid. So that's that was like something that I wrote about a few days ago.
There's a special place in hell for them. There really is. Howie Klein is the founder and treasurer of the Blue America PAC. They raise money for progressive candidates around America. Read him every day over at Down with Tyranny. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
So kind of you.
Thank you. And donate to whoever Howie says to give money to, even if it's $1, do it. $1.
Yes. And right now, you can, if you go to the Blue America congressional page, you can donate both to
maybe for Congress.
Maybe a girl, Jones.
Or Dom Jones. Dom Jones or maybe a girl, and we'll have both of them on the show in the upcoming weeks. The election is sooner than you think. It's right around the corner. Thank you, Howie. Great job as always.
Thank you, David.
Howie Klein. Bye-bye. Thank you. Read Howie over at Down with Tyranny and follow him on Twitter at Down with Tyranny. And I meant that when I said, if Howie Klein endorses a candidate, give them money. $1, $2, $5. You have no idea how much of a difference it makes. And you will feel better. Everybody right now feels powerless. It's February. I don't know anybody who's happy. I think most people don't even know how angry they are. We're all pretty angry. And so the best way to deal with your anger, well, not the best way, but one of the best ways to deal with your anger is to support progressive candidates recommended by Howie Klein. Go to Down with Tyranny and learn how to support, maybe for Congress, or Dom Jones. Howie supports a lot of candidates who win. Katie Porter was on this show before she won. Howie supports winning candidates, but sometimes you need to support candidates who aren't going to win, but need your support anyway. They need a vote of confidence, and $5 does that. It's another way of saying I believe in you and what you stand for. So go to Down with Tyranny, read Howie Klein, and support his candidates. And don't forget to register to vote. How about that, huh? Pretty cool. Register to vote, because that's your strongest weapon. It is still our strongest weapon. And the best way to help me, if you enjoy my podcast, is to share. Share these episodes with like-minded people. That's the best way to help. I don't have any corporate funding. I'm not a 501c3 or a 501c4. The only way people find out about this show and the guests I have is through you, the listeners. So I'm asking you to copy the link wherever you're listening or watching this. Copy the link and share it on social media or with your friends. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. I read all the comments, and I want to thank everybody for commenting, because it keeps me sharp. It really does. And a lot of you, when you're commenting, send me things to read. We have strict community guidelines, so it's a pretty safe place to say what's on your mind, as long as you're not a fascist. So please leave a comment in the comment section below. And while you're over there, please subscribe to this channel. Office hours every Friday night at 8 p.m. Be part of my community. It starts at 6 p.m. Did I say 8? It starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I make myself available to all the listeners for the first 90 minutes starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm there at 6 p.m. just to start, but if you really want to talk to me, I am available starting at 8 p.m. Eastern every Friday night. Go to my website for the office hours link. It's a fantastic community of like-minded activists and miscreants. You can keep your video off and lurk. You don't have to talk or participate. It's up to you. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak.